Hi guys, this is Daryl at Inda-Gro. Today we're going to do a short video to show you how our daylight harvester series that will go from 50% to 100% based on how much light is striking the back of that sensor requires that the photo period be operated by a timer upline. So we have a master controller. This is the cabinet. They will come in a variety of sizes based on how many relays you need to be able to control, and a remote sensor. This acts as our master sensor. And what this master sensor does is sets the on-off thresholds so you can turn the lights on and off based on your user-defined light settings or intensities. So I've got Jeff here today. Jeff, good morning.
Morning.
We're going to open up our master controller box, and what do we have?
Well, the first thing we have here is the timer, which is essentially used to establish the photo period, which is the period that is going to allow the lights to come on. They'll still only come on if the sensor light level is such that it says it's low enough that you need to add the supplemental lighting. But this will control the photo period so they're not coming on in the middle of the night when you don't necessarily want them on then, so that you're only getting the prescribed photo period you want.
Okay, so let's just say I want to set a 12-hour photo period. This looks like a nice analog system, not very complex. I see it's got an on, off, and auto switch. So off is an override that will turn all of our lights off. On would override and turn all of the lights on. Auto, on the other hand, allows you to set that photo period. So what's the very first thing I know we have to do is set the actual time of day. So how is that done?
It's just simply done by turning this wheel in the center here clockwise.
Only don't turn them counterclockwise, okay?
And it's currently, it's about 9:30 in the morning right now. So this little arrow here points right. So we got right there about 9:30.
Okay, 9:30 is good. Now we have all the trip settings out right now. Each one of these trip settings represents a 20-minute trip. So let's say I want to turn our lights on at 6 a.m. and I want to turn them off at 6 p.m. What do we do with the trips?
The on indicator is the trip pushed in. So you're going to push. You got to find the one here. It's about represents 6, and actually you're going to want to put all, for the period that it's on, you want them all to be in.
Okay.
So we're going to put them all in from what indicates from, I can do a couple at a time here it seems, all the way from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m.
Got it. And this is a commercial style single gang timer, guys. Behind this timer,
of course,
is the relay, which in this case this customer has 3 circuits he needs to make and break. We're able to put the relay in this cabinet, and this timer will make and break all the line voltage circuits. So as Jeff pushes all the trips.
Yeah, these guys are small, so they're not.
Yeah.
Get big hands like me, they're a little tough.
If you're a big-fingered guy, you're going to have to work at this a little bit. Maybe
hire
your kids. Okay, so that's the idea. And then leave it in the auto position. Now, in the auto position, we're going to rely on not only the timer photo period having been set, but that this sensor, which is a remote sensor, it's tied in with a little low voltage cable. And this little cable, I don't know if you just heard, but the relay kicked in. Just tell us how this works, Jeff.
Well, it's the power supply for this is located in this, and this is just the power to the sensor and then the controller. It's just 3 conductors, so when it's connected in and when the requirements are met, both the requirements of both the sensor and the timer have to be met for it to go on. And
so we have a display setting right now, which if there's no activity, that display setting will go quiet in 10 minutes. And the activity would have to be, pressing one of the 2 buttons. Can you tell us what the buttons do?
Yeah, the first button cycles through the different options. Right now it's showing what would normally be interpreted as the foot candle reading of the light, but we've actually recalibrated this one to where that number is actually micromoles, not foot candles. That number is reading as micromoles. Now, as I cycle through this, the first one is this control, and this is also similar to the switch here, is a bypass. I can, as you heard, just turned it off manually, turned it back on manually. The next step is, this is the on threshold, which is currently set at 550 micromoles. And if you recall earlier when we were looking at it, the reading was somewhere in the 300 range. So being that was under less than that value, it was turning It was turning it on.
Okay, so the daylight harvester has a high-low switch on it, and if I want it in the high position, I'm adding the most amount of supplemental lighting to my crops. On the other hand, if I have it in the low position, it's going to be less active and require higher levels of sunlight, or I'm sorry, lower levels of sunlight to click on, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, that being said, we need to show us the default position. When we send these out, we send them set up for the high position on not only the master sensor, but on the daylight harvester.
Right.
That switch must be in the high position, guys.
Right. The two have to correspond, or the dimming aspect of the daylight harvester will be out of sync with the timing of them coming on and off.
And the idea with this sensor is that this will control the on-off thresholds for virtually an unlimited number of lights.
Yeah. Now, currently the high threshold is at about 600. So we have this turning on at 550, it's a little bit under it, and this next one is the turn off threshold, which is 688. So which is 20. It's a default setting of the sensor. It's 25% higher than the on. So it's straddling that high value, which is what makes sense.
Right, and these thresholds are outside of the boundaries set on the high-low switch on the daylight harvester.
The turn off is
turn on off,
but the turn on is a little bit less than which is
the
where
idea being you'll have the fixture powered up, and then when it's reaching the threshold for on, it will be at a 50% lumen level.
Right, when it comes
intensity.
on, when it comes on, since it's just coming on in the high position, it will be
full bright.
It will be dimmed until the sun drops even more.
Right, but when they come on full bright, and then they'll dim down.
Then
guys,
down after about
okay.
10
so right
seconds.
now, remember, we're always sending these out in the high limit thresholds. Let's say we want to reset this to low limit thresholds. How do we do it?
Well, we have to go back to the on, and then this button over here will cycle through it. Now unfortunately we want to go to a lower level now, because the low threshold we want to set at, I believe, is 450, but we got to cycle through the whole offering that it has to get to it.
And this will really depend on what crop type and what time of year it is and where you're located.
How much, and how many lights you want to use, how high up you are, spacing, all these things factor in. There's definitely, we're going to publish some more stuff on kind of how to do this, but there's definitely some experimentation involved.
But I would say if you're getting very good crop yields and the repeatability off of this high setting, as I've shown you on the timer, it's very easy to set the photoperiod up. If you are happy with this sensor setting, it would be in the high threshold, the switch on the daylight harvester on the high threshold, you're good to go. Where would we set this sensor in the greenhouse?
You want to set it someplace relatively high, that's not going to be obscured by anything shadowing. It's something that's going to see fairly good, good direct path to the sun as much as possible all day long. Now, where I have it currently set is on the on threshold is at 400 is where we'd want to set it for the lower setting if you're going to use, because that range is 450 down to 225. So once again, we want this to straddle the high setting. And so
where is the actual sensor?
The sensor is right here.
That's the eye. Okay.
Yeah. So now what I'm going to do is by toggling through here, I got to this point, but now I have to save it in memory. And while it's there, you just hold this down for a couple seconds. You see the memory pop, that means it's now in memory.
Okay.
It automatically reset the off threshold at 25% higher.
So you're at 500 micromoles off.
Yeah, and remember I said that high level for on the daylight harvester is 450, so the 400 and the 500 are nicely straddling.
Right.
That.
But again, it's important that they reset the switch on the daylight harvester
to the low setting in this situation.
Okay, so let's go ahead and put this back to the default high setting, just so they can see it done. The button that you're currently hitting was the menu. This is the select button. So if you're looking at the instructions, menus to the left, selects to the right.
Okay, so we're going to go 550 is where we were at, so we're back to there. Hold it down for a couple seconds till the memory indicator, and it's done. When you go down to the offset point, it's automatically been readjusted to 25% above that 550 we just set it at for on.
Okay.
Once again, straddling, we want this to straddle the high limit of of where the daylight harvester's been set on the lamp locally.
All right, what other features, like right now I know we only show the display and foot candles, but that's been recalibrated to micromoles.
Yes.
What can I do to see what my current light level is right now?
Is if you go to this where it says FC, standing for foot candles.
And you're at 365 micromoles.
Right, and
Okay.
you can see how that changes. I'll cover it, the sensor here a little bit, and
Yep.
you see it dropped way low. But
So a combination of energy efficiencies brought on by the local area sensor, which is on the daylight harvester, coupled with the proper setting of the master sensor, and knowing what your photoperiod setting is, which, by the way, the instructions for the timer are here. The instructions for this sensor are sent to you when we sell these and ship it to you, okay? Jeff, thank you very much. Anybody got any questions, please call us